welcome to TraceCloud. If you are watching this video, you probably are a systems engineering expert and you work on complex systems engineering projects, you have requirements management needs. You also probably are coming to the INCOSE conference at Dublin. We have a booth there for TraceCloud and we will be there, and if you have any questions, you would like to stop by, we would love to kind of connect with you and go deeper into some of these concepts. Um, as a systems engineer, you probably are interested in providing structure for your project, end-to-end traceability, have collaboration built in, and have a system that's easy and friendly to work with. You probably are already familiar with Rational Requisite Pro or maybe Doors. So TraceCloud does pretty much what most of those tools do, but in a much more easier uh, to use and more collaborative fashion. So when you come to our booth, we might give you a sheet that looks like this. This is just a way for you to score your current requirements management solution. Does it let you organize your requirements? Can you use Excel to import and export? Can you do collaboration? How does your traceability process work? Can you build these complex reports that you need to? Does the system provide versioning, audit trail, approval workflow? Can you take snapshots of your project at a point in time or a collection of requirements and compare those snapshots? Does the system give you built-in automation to automatically identify suspect races, maybe create glossary, dangling and orphan requirements? How does it dashboard? And what are the advanced features does your system have, right? So hopefully you will be able to kind of say, rate yourself on how well you're doing, and then maybe compare that against what TraceCloud can do. So here's a quick walkthrough of what the product does. In this example, I created an INCOSE template project. We have lots of templates, but this is one template that I've used. In this example, this template creates me stakeholder requirements, system element requirements, the verification requirements, and then of course the test results. It's of course flexible. You can define your own requirement types. In this example, I said, well, my stakeholder requirements will have a name and description and these attributes. You could have something else. For example, my system element requirements, you can see when I create a new system element requirements, the attributes are different for this. So you can create requirements one at a time, or you can import them from Excel, right? The built-in framework is there to map your Excel columns to the attributes and kind of helps you with that. And once you create your requirements, you can, of course, look at them in a list view, or you can open one requirement at a time and modify the name or description, work on the attributes, do traceability work, collaborate, attach files. I'll come to traceability in a quick minute, but the idea is every requirement, we capture the change log of the requirement, so any kind of change made since inception of the requirement is captured, but you also have a versioning system that says here are the high-level version changes, and you can roll back to any version if required. Traceability is pretty straightforward. You can connect this requirement to any other requirement. For example, you could say, well, I'm looking at a platform, user story 1. I would like to connect to this to a system requirement. You have to make a choice on the direction of the arrow. Does your user story trace up to a sys, or does the sys trace up to a user story? So depending on your requirements management plan, you could do that. And more importantly, you can give labels to these connections. So this trace is a derived trace, right? And if you don't like what these 5 names are, you can add your own types of traceabilities, right? So the system is pretty flexible in that regard. So in this case, I kind of created these 2 traces, so it's no longer a dangling requirement. It becomes, of course, the standard traceability features of things becoming suspect when requirements get modified are here. So to kind of show that in action, let me just clear all upstream traces. So now if I were to modify this requirement for whatever reason, a change log is created, the version number goes from 5 to 6, and more importantly, traceability becomes suspect. So as you connect every requirement to every other requirement in the system, the daisy chain starts building out. Now you can see that, okay, this user story is tied to these 2 system requirements, which in turn have their system elements, system element verifications, and test cases. So you can start seeing a daisy chain that you can go deeper and deeper if you needed to. That's one aspect of it. Now that you have your requirements in the system, you have your traceability built in, this is where reporting comes in. You can create list reports. You can say, get me all requirements in all the subfolders, print out these attributes, apply additional filters, and you get your data set. The neat thing is you can, of course, export to Excel or Word or PDF, but more importantly, you can operate in bulk. You can say, I want to update attributes, set a certain attribute value to something else, right? Or you could say, I want to move all these requirements to a different folder. I want to make copy of them. I want to trace them. So for example, I want to trace all these requirements up to a certain requirement. So you can operate in bulk, and this is a very heavily used feature. You can, of course, save reports and jump between saved reports. So that's a list report. But you can also build something called a trace matrix. This is probably something you're very familiar with. For example, you could say, I want to see the relationship between my system element requirements for this accessories folder and see how they're connected to my system requirements that are in this folder, and you can build a dynamic visualization of the relationship between requirements in two different sets of folders. So, and it's dynamic, it's interactive. You can work and create your traces here. You can clear your traces here. You can create them in bulk. And the neat thing is you can export this to Excel if you needed this view. So this is your trace matrix. A cousin of the trace matrix is something called a trace tree. In this example, you want to kind of say, show me all the requirements in this folder. Let's start with that. Now that I have all my user stories, I would like to see what is connected to those user stories one click down. So you can see I have a few system requirements, and I want to kind of keep on increasing the depth of my tree so I can see how every other requirement in the project is connected to these my top level requirements. Along the way, I get to see the suspect traces. I get to see where the change is there in the system that has not been digested by the stakeholders. The system has built-in dashboarding. I could quickly go to any folder. For example, let's say I'm interested in the Audi stakeholder requirements. I can go to folder metrics and say, well, what's happening in this folder? How many requirements are there? How many are dangling? How many are orphan? Where the suspect traces? How is testing happening? These kinds of dashboards, you can get them not just at a folder level, you also get a to-do list. That is, if you are an owner of a requirement, the system is able to identify what are the things that you need to do to keep your part of the house clean. You can, of course, get this in a dashboard format and see what's happening with other users, right? So pretty powerful system in that regard. It also is able to have collaboration. For example, as people add comments to requirements, you should be able to see how many requirements are there that people have made on your requirements, which requirements do you need to resolve, and what are the requirements that you made that others haven't resolved yet. The idea is anytime somebody adds a comment, it goes into an unresolved stage till the owner of the requirement has had a chance to say, yep, I've taken care of that. So if I kind of go back to my preview sheet here, right? So we covered how to organize requirements. By the way, you can always create subfolders within requirement type so you can better organize your requirements. In my example, my stakeholders are divided by my customers, or my product features are divided by the different elements of the system, right? So you can organize, you can work in bulk. We covered import and export. We can collaborate, of course. Traceability, we covered trace matrix, we covered the trace tree. You've seen how you can do many-to-many traceability here. Reporting and bulk editing, versioning and audit trail, baselines. The system has a pretty powerful baselining mechanism where you can take a snapshot of a set of requirements, and then after that you can report on what has changed since a baseline, and you can, of course, dashboard based on a baseline. You can say, for everything in that baseline, show me what they look like at that point in time, show me the changes between then and now, compare different baselines, and you can do a bunch of magic here, right? So that's the starting point. There is, of course, a lot more advanced features built into it. For example, most tools won't let you set approval workflow rules, where you can say this requirement can only enter approval workflow if certain traceability parameters are met, or vice versa. If additional traceability dependencies are attached to a requirement, I want the requirement to enter approval workflow all over again. So with TraceCloud, you can do that level of complex work. You can define phases, goals, and how system is doing according to the phases and goals. You can define shared and global requirements. Um, Gantt charts can figure out um, when your requirements will get completed. The system can automatically identify long poles and the time bombs in your project. So those are more like your crawl, walk, run, sprint model. Those are your sprint part of your journey. So that's a quick overview. So if you guys have any questions, please do reach out to us. You can find us at support@tracecloud.com, or if you want to reach me, Nathan at tracecloud.com. But I will be at the booth along with my team members. So please do stop by, or if you have any questions, drop us a note ahead of time, and we would love to kind of find some time and connect with you. Looking forward to an engaging discussion. Thank you for your time.